Welcome to ASL Season 16 post-draft rankings. I am here with special guests never before on the YouTube channel with me. It's Mams
Hello.
and Cam.
Hello, hello.
We are going to do a recap of the current rosters. So this is the draft after grace period transactions, any of the transactions may have taken place. Here we go. Ghost team. We're going to review Ghost first. We gave Ghost a B- overall. We're not going to do specific grades. But overall, we gave Ghost a B-. Quality team. Darkrai in this format is one of the only mons, in my opinion, that's worth the S tier price tag. It's tremendously powerful, but good speed, nasty plot, amazing. He got good partners with it. Slow pivots and Scizor, Sylveon, Moltres, even things like Electros and Serena kind of continue that on. The theme of this team is to get Darkrai in and let it do work. I like the team overall, but there are some glaring issues. The speed tiers are a struggle in different areas. No 110, no base 100. Some of the different speed tiers are kind of concerning. Like Salk is your 80 speed tier, or how reliable is Salk? How many weeks will it come? I don't know. But I do like the synergy of the top handful of mons. I think it's a good roster overall. I feel comfortable with a B-.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah. It's a pretty good team. I also ranked it at a B minus. I think it was a B minus. Yeah, it was a B minus. The team itself is, like you said, just to get Darkrai in, let it do some work. What the rest of the team needs to provide at that point is familiar pivots and things that can make sure that Darkrai can actually punch holes. And once it gets a nasty plot up, it pretty much does that. It's at 125 speed, so it's going to be outspeeding the majority of the team that it goes up against. The problem with it is that he needs to make sure he watches out for scarfers, things that are scarf U-turn really can revenge him if he gets too boosted. I'm not sure if Mega Bayonet is going to be as useful in that regard because Darkrai already kind of provides a nice check and answer to psychic types. But Mega Bayonet has Prankster, Destiny Bond, which always kind of gets a kill sometimes. Um, the rest of the team, I guess, are nice in providing some pivot strength with Serena and Moltres, even Sylveon with Baton Pass and Scizor, obviously with U-turn. So it's really good at getting Darkrai in. So I like the team in that regard. Darkrai can definitely hold his own. Anyways, it's fairly bulky at 90s for defenses. So yeah, that's why I'm gonna keep it at B minus.
Yeah, and you guys pretty much said everything, but my only like concern is that it is just very one-dimensional. Like we all know what's gonna happen. Like this team is meant for Darkrai to do damage. If you don't play around Darkrai well, this team completely falls apart. There's not really that much damage. I mean, there's some Scizor and Mega Bayonet kind of, but Mega Bayonet's slow as heck. So, but overall, pretty good team.
I agree. On to Inkfish.
All right, so Inkfish, I'll take it for here. Inkfish, we got a very strong team, leading off with Zamazenta Crown. This thing will, for the most part, always come to every match, and you know it's coming to every match. It gets kills no matter what. You know what it's going to do, but it's still going to chunk your team regardless, unless you have a very, very bulky Celesteela or anything of that, it's still going to pretty much just chunk it. So the rest of the team complement it in certain regard. He does have a Sun as well with Torkoal, which acts as a nice spinner as well. And then I guess Victory Bell kind of takes up the chlorophyll role. I was mentioning before to Brad as well that if he had a nice regen core with Slowbro and Amoonguss over Victory Bell, then that could have been a nice core. But I guess having Victory Bell there for the Sun is also very nice. And then you have trappers such as Doug Trio to get rid of things for, I'm assuming, a Nihilego late game. And yeah, and then the rest of the team it does complement Zamazenta a little bit. I give the team itself a B plus, and it's ranked at a B plus as well there. So it definitely has everything that it needs. I'm not sure what Parasect is going to provide there, but I'm sure he might come for the memes.
So first off, Parasect would come because it's the greatest mon of all time, and that's like why it would come. Um, this is the team. If you were to actually look at our individual grades, I think we were the most divided on. I was the lowest, and then Cam was actually the highest. We apparently are seeing a lot of different things here. My primary issue with this team, one, there's a speed gap between 70 and 36. I don't love that because there's a lot of extra investment that are coming from some really powerful mons in that arena that are just going to ignore speed completely. This team, he's got some good physical bulk, he's got some good special bulk, but outside of Zamazenta isn't horribly threatening in the physical side. Doug Trio's an okayest physical attacker. Victory Bell is like fine, but his physical threat really is Zamazenta and then nothing else at all. Some mons seem to serve duplicate roles, like Mega Slowbro and Kafagrigus are fairly similar in their like it's gonna come, it's gonna be a physical wall, special attacker. Mega Slowbro obviously is a much better mon overall, but they're fairly similar. He's got a handful of special attackers where he could have traded some of those special attackers out, got a couple of physical attackers, and been more diverse. Because right now, if I fight him, I'm just going to slap on 2 assault vests and feel fairly comfortable about what I'm doing. So I don't love everything he's got going. I think Zamazenta is a decent mon, but isn't probably one of the mons I would have targeted from the S tier. I probably would have went with something like Lando Ice Shear Force, but that's just a personal purview. I think the team's fine. I think it's good enough to win a couple of games, but it's actually my second lowest rated team of the draft so far.
Me personally, I think this team is disgusting. I would hate to face this team. I mean, just Zamazenta Crown and Mega Slowbro alone, without even like looking at the rest of the roster, is just like Zamazenta's super bulky, super fast, super strong. It's gonna hit like a truck. Mega Slowbro pretty much walls a lot of stuff. Like it's coming. These two mons are coming, but what can you really do to stop them? I mean, Galar has potential with the Moltres with Berserk. You got Doug Trio. You got Nihilego. You got Coffer Gigas. Like it's just all comes together. I think it's just a really good team comp. Um, but that's my thoughts on Inkfish.
All right.
But then we're gonna hop into Peach's team. Peach team, I think it's decent. I do really like a few mons. I do like the Mega Scizor is obviously one of my favorite mons to use in draft. I don't see it really taking anything on the special defensive side for me, at least. Like, I don't really see anything like all of it is like 100 or below. There's no really like special defensive walls. There's no really anything offensively, especially either, except for Thunder's Therian and I guess Starmie and Arcanine. But that's my thoughts on it.
For sure. Um, I like Peach's team in general. I gave it a really good grade. What you had mentioned, the special attack does concern me. Like,
Yeah.
Sorry, my headset messed up, y'all. I fixed it now, I think.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thunder's
Yeah.
Therian being his primary special attacker is a concern for me. Starmie's there, but like Starmie's fine. Um, it's not amazing. It's fine. His spit F walls are limited as well. But there's enough pieces there that I really like. I love Scizor. I love Scizor paired with Arcanine particularly. Scizor paired with Komodo seems really nice to help pick off those fairy types. He's got a double fairy, even though they're late. He has 2 of them. He's got options there. I like the team overall. I like kind of his flow. 115 is not great anymore. Like there was a time where 115 is fine as your fastest mon. Nowadays that's fairly slow, but it's 115 on a mon that can come pretty much every week. So at, I would rather have 115 on a weekly mon than 120 on a mon that I'm gonna bring 4 times. So it's good. It's a good team. I think it's well deserving of the A minus.
Yeah, well said. I think I also place this as really high on my ranking as well. I'd like his top mons for sure, and then the rest of the mons beneath are good value. I do like I do really like the Como Scizor pair, like you already said, Brad. There, and I like that Arcanine might come Flash Fire one week, and or multiple weeks. It kind of helps that he covered his fire weakness in Scizor pretty early on with Como and Arcanine, and then Starmie as well. So he's really trying to make it so that Scizor doesn't always have to just bring Defog. He does have spinners in Starmie. I guess this is only spin there. But otherwise, he probably wants to always try to win that end game with ST Scizor, which is pretty easy to do a lot of time. A Scizor only really comes with like 5 or 6 moves that he wants to bring anyways, and ST happens to be one of them as well. So getting rid of Scizor's main threats are fire types, obviously, and just having things like Como and Starmie really does help him there. Como as well is a huge threat late game if he can get things weak enough. So I think the issue I'm seeing more so with Peach's team is early game. He needs to make sure that he doesn't lose to his opponent's offense before he gets set up and tries to win late game with his setup as well. I would have liked to see him have like a more um, he can just hit hard physical mon. Like Scizor, yes, with his bullet punches, does have a lot of attack, but otherwise, he might have to rely maybe on Braviary coming some weeks to get a really physically offensive wall breaker. Because the rest of the mons, they're good when they start setting up. Otherwise, he really needs to make sure that he can score the end game before his opponent does. And I think this team will pretty much go far. It does have a lot of weaknesses covered as well, with Thunderous being Volt Absorb and and Arcanine being Flash Fire. I think it's a pretty solid team. That's why I gave it an A.
Yep, it's a good one. Moving on to another pretty good team, but this one with a few more complaints, if you will. Dravos ended up with a squarely B. There's some things I love about this team, and there's some things that I don't love about this team. One of the things I love is like he has a ton of powerful attackers. He has like Heatran, Thundy, Primarina, um, even Mega Sceptile gives him some really nice special attack. Physically, he's got the Weavile. Even the Thunders can hit special, or physical. The Sceptile can hit physical. Donphan. The Hitmontop can hit physical. Like he's got a lot of different attacking options. He's got good speeds for the most part. There's some things I really like about his team. But there is some glaring issues. One being that he doesn't really have recovery. Ilamise, or however you say it, I believe has Roost, um, Leech Seed Sceptile, Draining Kiss Primarina. But I mean, outside that, whatever damage Weavile takes, it's taken. Whatever damage Tran takes, it's taken, and so on and so forth. The vast majority of his roster really has no way of returning health short of like rest talk shenanigans. That's a major issue, especially against the better coaches that are going to be prepared. They may come bulky versus him on purpose to kind of question or try his longevity. I think it's an issue for him. And my dog also is really concerned about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Hey,
Yeah.
my dog, see, even my dogs are worried about what's going on with Dravos' roster. So I would like to see him make some transactions because I think this roster has a tremendous amount of potential. Um, but I am concerned about that.
Yeah, I could see your concern for sure. What I was also looking at was the no cleric is a big one. Now it's not a make or break. Obviously, having no cleric sometimes you either can't afford it or it just doesn't fit on your team. What he probably wants to go for is a more hyper offensive sort of squad here, with things like Garbodor spike stacking, toxic spike stacking, and then once he explodes with that, he goes into things like um, maybe a Specs Primarina, start getting some damage that way. Endgame Mimikyu always a threat as well if you can get rid of your opponent's steel types, and he definitely has things that can do that with Heatran and Thunders if it happens to be that Celesteela or that Corviknight. So I can see a little bit of a strategy going there, especially with hazards into his stronger breakers, Thundy with plot. We were also talking about his removal being Donphan, Hitmontop, and then Thunderous with the Defog as well. Now I know I'm probably going to steal Cam's sentence here, but Donphan probably has to always be spin. If not him on top, then um, and he does have options to get rid of hazards there. I'm not sure if Illumise wants to come more so, but I'm not sure he's going to want to fit a Defog Illumise over things like his Spinners or even Defog Thunderous. A lot of times you are going to see the same mons come, and that's fine. I think he wants to just make sure that he has what he needs in order to win. I'm sure he has a plan with Weavile as well as the first pick there. Otherwise, yeah, it's a decent team. I placed it at a B plus there. Mega Sceptile being his fastest mon, it can do work, so it just needs to make sure that it gets in the right position. But again, it needs things gone the same way Mimikyu does, and they both are kind of weak to the same sort of Pokemon in a way. Not weak as in weak, but they need mons like the steel types to be removed in order for them to really start popping off. So um, either way, I think he can still do well with this team. Again, I gave it a B plus. Still pretty good team.
Yeah, y'all kind of stole everything I was gonna say. I mean, yeah, there's no really any removal. Like Dolphin's gonna have to come every game or him on top. I mean, like you could go Defog Illumise, but like, why is that's one thing. Why is Illumise even on the team? It does look very fun. It's very hyper offensive. I love hyper offensive, but fun doesn't exactly equal wins. You know what I mean? But it's a decent team. Decent team. You can do stuff with it, but there are some like severe problems with it.
All right.
All right. All right. So we're on to Teej now. Um, when I first saw this one as well, I gave it the highest ranking I could, and then I started noticing other things as we were discussing more so. But I love Spectre with Terrakion. That was one of the things I was looking at. Obviously, Spectre just wants to win late game with a Spec Shadow Ball or just a Combine Acid Supply, whatever it is. He doesn't want to have to bring that coverage that he probably needs to sometimes in order to get rid of things that already wall him, like the normal types, the dark types. That's where Terrakion comes in, and Terrakion can switch into a dark type. Always wants to take that and then just get a justified boost. I think he does have other things as well. It's not necessarily going to just be Terrakion switching into dark types. He does have things like the G Weezing, the Zarude. Even though the Zarude, for the most part, it might have to be Scarf sometimes. His speed tiers do top at Spectre at 130. Otherwise, it drops down to Zarude, and he's gonna be slower than things like Tornadus, and the rest of his team there aren't gonna try to keep up with it. Tornadus itself is a huge problem if he doesn't have anything faster than it besides Spectre. So it's a really strong team. I really like the first 4 and 5, and it kind of covers a lot of his weaknesses. And I like seeing the Jellicent there as well, just to kind of give him an extra check to fighting types, which I know he's also kind of weak to, in a sense, even with the Uxie and the G-Weezing. He has ways of getting around them, but I like how offensive his team can look, especially within the first top mon. So that's why I gave it that A. So
Cam?
My fault. I thought it was your
I
turn.
was
Okay.
Cam.
Yeah. I really like this draft. I like Spectre. I think Spectre is broken. I think it can do a lot of stuff. It can go Scarf just to be faster than everyone and one shot everyone. It can go Specs because it's faster than most things and one shot everyone. It can go like a substitute calm mindset. I've seen that like just one shot everything. It's a nice, like Ma'am said, like you could go with, especially with Terrakion. Like this thing is disgusting. You know what I mean? Like this mon is scary. Terrakion just makes it even scarier. I didn't even know it was possible. Um, Jellicent, really good mon, especially with the Terrakion as a Zarude being weak to fighting. A nice check for that, especially with the Scald. I love just everything about this team. Nice recovery with Gliscor, Jellicent. Nice bulk with like Uxie, Jellicent, Audino. Just strong all across the boards. Like all of these mons can put in damage in some way or some form. So really good team.
Yeah. It's nice when, according to Cam, you can just 6-0 everyone because Spectre just one-shots everything. I mean, that helps so much in team building when you don't have to bring anything else
Mm.
and it just one-shots the whole. But I like the team. It's an A for a reason. It's a great team. My complaints are extremely minor. Um, I do like that he invested in really quality mons in each tier. Like I think Audino is one of the better E tier mons. I think Charizard's one of the better E tier mons. I think Coprage and Weezing are some of the best mons in D tier. He got really nice value out of B by getting Gliscor early. Gliscor is a great mon from the B tier. So maximizing his pick value is great. Nice speeds. Got a lot of mons over 100, which I feel pretty good about. He does have a pretty significant gap from 95 to 60. So that can be a problem because he's going to be facing things like, okay, Nidoking's going to be modest. Mons like that can already be pretty scary. Gudra, things like that. He's going to be facing those mons as offensive as they can possibly be if the opposing coach chooses to go that direction because of that speed gap. So maybe something he could tighten up there. I also am concerned about the Zarude Terrakion pairing. That's a lot of draft capital invested in two mons with really similar issues, being fairy and fighting weaknesses. And he doesn't do terrible against fairy because he has Capraja, but it's also a fighting weakness. Um, so I don't know that the synergy for me is there with those two because then even Zarude with the ice weakness to pair with Gliscor, I think I would just rather see Zarude be something else. But outside of that, the team probably would have gotten an A+ for me. But I think it fell at an A for me personally because of the speed issues, because of my personal dislike with the way Zarude fits with the roster, but it's a fantastic team. And I fully expect it to be a playoff roster.
And now with the Galactic Gallades, right?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, personally, I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of biased with this team. I don't like Mega Garchomp at all. I think there's just better Pokemon. I think there's better Megas than Mega Garchomp. Especially when you see Tornadus and Garchomp together, you're just like, oh my gosh, like ice teams are gonna wreck it. He does have Volcanion, he does have like Cobalion to combat that, so it's not like completely doomed. You know what I mean? I don't know what Regigigas does exactly. Um, Stat wise, pretty solid around the boards, good defensive walls. Um, I guess you have Diancie kind of for special defensive. I guess if you want to do that, Celebi, you could do that. But that's pretty much it. Not really anything on the special defensive side. You got some fast Mons, you got Cobalion, you got Tornadus, obviously. So overall, pretty solid.
Yeah. It's going to get a high score from me just because it has Tornadus T and Mega Garchomp. I don't share your disdain for Mega Garchomp. I think
Mm,
Mega Garchomp's one of the better Megas in terms of its attacking ability in the game. Plus, it's just regular Garchomp with a Mega Stone if you don't evolve it, and regular Garchomp's pretty busted.
that's
Uh,
fair.
so, and Torn T, in my personal opinion, is a top 3 Mon in draft format. So he's got a great Mon to start. He's got a really powerful breaker. Then he's got Volcanion, which takes every ice move in the history of ice moves. Um, there's a lot of things I like here. This team is going to rely a lot on Celebi, I think. With it's not, it is Earthquake week. You know, Volcanion taking the Earthquake, Cobalion, Salazzle, Diancie. It is kind of Earthquake week. It does have Torn T, it does have Rotom, but I feel like Celebi is going to be really important for this roster. I like a lot of what he has. I could see him even being a little bit higher than a B plus. He doesn't have great SPDF, that's true. Uh, but I like a lot of what he's got. His physical attack is a little bit lacking. Mega Garchomp's a great physical attacker. After that, his next physical attacker is what? Cobalion? No, not fantastic. I guess you can use Torn T for physical attack and even Volcanion, but that's not.
Yeah, I was about to say
It's not.
Volcania has 110.
It's not what they do though. It's not what they're best at. It can do it, but it's not what they're best at. So maybe another physical attacker somewhere in there would have potentially helped. I like the team overall. I think it's at least a B plus, but it might be a little bit better than that.
I hear you. I gave this team an A, and not only just because it's Milan, but I mean I've seen
Well,
what
I
Milan can do with
specifically
a team
downgraded
like
it
this.
because it's Milan.
Oh, okay. Actually, one of them is far more fantastic. uh,
Oh,
but you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Brad there. It's Torn T plus Mega Garchomp, very strong. Not just offensively there. They're both super bulky.
Mhm.
And yes, they are both weak to ice. I'm sure Milan can conjure up some ways around ice moves. It doesn't have to be necessarily things like Volcanion, which is also does not want to take multiple hits, especially if it's something like a Curum with Earth Power after that. Um, Cobalion, I know Milan loves his Cobalion, so I'm not going to say anything there. It's not the best steel type. It's certainly not the best fighting type, but in combination, it is a really good speed tier. It gets rocks.
Mhm.
It's a very nice pivot, and it offers him resistances that he probably needs in this case when it comes to things like Tornadus and Mega Garchomp. And I know that Mega Garchomp is just a monster physically and can be that special attacker too. You don't want to sit in front of a Mega Garchomp at all. It's going to chunk you no matter what. There's nothing that's going to wall it. After that, Tornadus, with its ability to just boost up and then just win late game with boosted Hurricanes, nothing exactly really wants to swap into those either. So he does have those. Obviously, it's very predictable what he might bring most cases. The Salazzle is something that we didn't really talk about, but it does also kind of give him that nice fairy resist. If he's looking for Mega Garchomp, answers there. Also against things like Clefable. That's also another way around that. And it's sitting at 117, which really helps his speed tiers after Tornadus, because otherwise, it drops kind of from the 100s and then 90s and then 70s, and that's pretty much it. But I do agree. I think I heard you guys say that, it was a little bit ground weak. It doesn't exactly always want to switch in Tornadus on ground moves when they could also have rock moves. And obviously, looking at the Regigigas, it's not like he's too weak to anything that he might need it. But I do see that ghost weakness that he was kind of. It's not a ghost weakness. It's more so he doesn't have that many resistances, and that's why the Persian and the Regigigas are probably there. So it's not too bad. But otherwise, I think he has what he needs. I know with this sort of team, it might just be more so hit and run, and then get up hazards, and then maybe set up late game, and then kind of win that way. But it's not too obvious what he might want to bring every single week. So yeah, I like the team. I gave it an A. So I think it can go far.
A little bit more physical attack would help, I think. Maybe trade one of these things out, get something that can give him a little bit more of a dominant force on the physical side. I think that
I can
makes
agree. Maybe another physical wall breaker. Yeah, I can see that.
yeah.
No, Regigigas is enough.
Reggie Gase does the work. You just have to give it a couple minutes.
Just wait 5 turns. He sweeps. Trust.
Yeah.
Okay. On to Amarillo. Oh, Amarillo. You sniped me on Mega Deoncy just to pair it with this team. Um, this is my lowest rated team um, of all, by far actually. Um, the first few mons are cool, like Deoncy, Silvally, Cartana, Crobat, even the Inteleon. Like, there's a lot of good happening there. Silvally supports essentially everything, right? Cartana is stupid, is incredibly powerful. Deoncey's incredibly powerful. Crobat's helpful, um, especially with like bullet punch and things like that. But I feel like this is the tale of two different rosters, man. Like, the top part is fine. I can even live with Mudsdale, even though there are better grounds in D tier. Um, but then after that, it's like someone else stepped in and started drafting. The Ludicolo is a great mon. Doesn't make sense. It makes sense in Amarillo's theme, but doesn't make sense on the roster. Dredagon and Beware together are kind of strange because they're both very weak. They're of a relatively similar speed. They do relatively similar things. Um, Simisear should never be drafted anywhere. The Grumpig's not. There are better psychics in E tier, even like Beheem. Is a tremendous E tier psychic. I love Amarillo. He's a great dude. He's a good coach. He'll probably find a way to make this roster good, but this is not good as a team. That's just my 2 cents.
So I think you told me when we were doing this sort of recap that Amarillo likes doing themes,
Yep.
and I guess this one was the Toy Story one.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of just want to give him an A plus plus just for that. I love Toy Story, but when it kind of converts into what he tried to draft here, like you said, like Grumpig, Simisear. Um, if they can see play maybe one game, I know you guys have 13 weeks here, right?
Hmm.
um, then sure, I guess they can come for that. If a team is very fire weak, I guess you can see a Simisear uh, getting some action. Otherwise, it's a lot of times it's going to be his top mons, Megadiancy, Silvally, Cardana, uh, and even Inteleon can actually do some work as well. Beware is a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Mhm.
Um, and if he has he gets that thing up with maybe a Swords Dance or Choice Band, it really does punch him holes. Maybe for Dancy to come in later and win that way. He doesn't have too many pivoting around with his team. He has Parting Shot, Savali, slash U-turn, Crobat U-turn, and Inteleon U-turn. Otherwise, the rest of the team will be sitting in there until he decides to double there. So Mega Diancie sometimes will have to take a lot of damage unnecessarily. Otherwise, Crobat will have to just step in and kind of be defensive when you'd rather want to bring it maybe offensive. You see if the opponent is flying weak. I like Inteleon as a setup sweeper with just focus energy if he gets a chance to. It really does do some work and it's very scary just sitting in front of it. I know the team. I gave it a B. It has Ludicolo without Rain, so I'm not sure exactly about that. Maybe he'll want to switch that out later. Otherwise, the team is strong with Mega Diancie and Cartana, so I'll give it that much.
Yeah, the offensive threats are there. Like Mega Diancie hits like a truck. Cartana hits like a truck. They're phenomenal offensively. Savali is like one of the most universal. What am I saying? Versatile mons,
Mhm.
just because it can just change its typing. Um, I do see a bit of an issue just like with the special defense. There's nothing really there unless you want to bring Grumpig every single game. I mean, Diancie really doesn't want to take a hit with 50 base HP. That's about it though. But like, if you can do your job, if you can do the damage, like Diancie can two shot a lot of things. Cartana can one shot a lot of things. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Like Spectre.
yeah, not no spectre, but it can do damage.
Yeah. And another thing too, like I think with Silvally, kind of like Mew, like they're best on teams that don't need them. You can run any Mew set. That's the best rosters for Mew.
Yeah.
Like Silvally, kind of similarly, is great. Like if you don't need it, but I feel like Silvally is going to be really important. Like he's going to have to pick the right typing, maybe run Parting Shot, maybe run Defog. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Silvally to perform well in this roster, and that's not good for the Mon.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
I think you're
that
right.
is another thing. Like hazard removal. I know we talked about this. I didn't really see much besides Dragon and Silvally. I know like Crobat can run defog, but
Cartana gets it, yeah. And then he
yeah.
has
Do you?
magic. I mean,
I
there's
forget about the
there's
magic bounce, but it's like
There's options there, but yeah, you're right. It's not as reliable. You're seeing Defog Crobat sometimes. Savali might want to be offensive too, because with the boost for multi attack this
Hmm.
gen, it really does work after a Swords Dance.
Okay, on to the next one.
All right, so we move on to TJ. Um, with TJ's team, uh, very, very strong. I looked at it in one glance. I was saying, wow, this is probably one of the best teams drafted. Uh, I see double psychic in the first two rounds. That's kind of you know hilarious. But again, psychic spam is always strong as long as you can get rid of your opponent's resists or dark types. The Octus speed very versatile as well. You want to run it hazards. I mean it's the best this the fastest taunter, the best hazards in my opinion. Slowking Galler. That thing won't die in one hit. Sometimes it won't even die in two hits. Uh, every single game, and it can be scary as well if your opponent doesn't have a reliable dark check. Psychic check. Curum as well. A lot of teams struggle against Curum with its freeze dry. The rest of his team really just supports what I think he was going for with his first two picks there. And it's interesting to see it because he does have Manchow and Slowking as well to kind of just regen up and pivot back and forth. I think Audino as well before Megas. Audino is a value pick. It's not the best fairy. It's certainly not the best cleric, but it can do work, especially if it doesn't mega going into it first time. And Escavalier, I'm not too sure if I like the Escavalier pick as much, but I can see what it provides here, and it probably was just a budget steel type, just so we can have some kind of resist to ice. Otherwise, ice might be an issue without Colossal and the rest of them there. So it's definitely a really nice draft, and I gave it an A. What do you guys think?
Um, I really like it. I like you don't even have to look at the stats. Like we all know what Deoxys Speed does. We've all faced Slow King Galler, like Kiram, Crook, Minshao, Swampert. Like these are just all just like staple picks. Like this whole team is just really good to me. I think it's one of the best teams. I mean, like you know what Deoxyspeed is gonna do. Slow King Galler. You don't even have to put special investments in its future sight. It's gonna do some damage to anyone that doesn't have like reliable recovery. And it's just bulky. Even without regenerator, like it's just like naturally like just kind of buff, and then you give a regenerator. Same with Min Shao. I don't know why this thing has regenerator, but you know it's gonna hit hard. Crook's gonna get hard. I like you said, I'm not a biggest fan of Escavalier, but that's really my only complaint with this draft.
Yeah. Did you say Kirk's gonna get hard or hit hard?
I may have.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I said hit.
I just didn't. I didn't know if you saw Crook looking
I
at that Slowbro, and I don't know. Sorry.
hey.
Um, there are things I love about this team, but there are some issues. You've already talked about a lot of the good things, but a speed gap of 180 to 105 is subpar. I think
Yeah, that's pretty big. Yeah.
that's fair to say. Like your things like Torn T is going to be able to steal a lot of extra EVs. You know, your 115s. There's a lot of free EVs that are going to come in and cause TJ some issues, especially with how specific he likes to prep. That's going to be annoying for him. But he has some great things. Swampert is unbelievable from tier D. Lurantis is and Rotom Fan both nice steals from tier E. I know specifically the reason he has a Scavalier is because he had a little too late to the Caparajah train and wasn't able to get it. But he's got Audino that's helpful because he doesn't have a great fairy. So what's a way to fix that? We'll take 2 fairies. I guess that's how he felt with his psychics. He's like, well, I need an extra one. He's a little special attack poor. Kiram's a good special attacker. Slow King's a decent special attacker, and then it's middling. Deoxys Speed can plot, sure, but that's not one hit, magic. His physical attack is quite a bit better, in my opinion. I like the team, but it's not without issue. But I do love some of the tier maximization. Slow King, Kiram, and Crook are some of the best mons in their tier. So, uh, hats off to TJ. I like the team, but it's not a perfect team, which no team really is.
Yeah, and now we're gonna get started with the Phoenix Flygons. Um, yeah, I mean it's good. You know, you got Mega Gallade, you got Blaspheon, you already got like some threats already that people have to watch out for. You got Slowbro. Um, but then it kind of is like, you know what I mean? Physically attacking, like I said, it's pretty much Gallade, unless I'm missing something. I think it's just Gallade. Glacier can put in work, but I mean, it has 30 base speed, so you know that's not the biggest issue. Special defensive wise, I mean, Mantine's really good, but you also have Slowbro, so Electric's going to be a little bit of a threat, which means you have to bring Nidoking every game, and even Nidoking, you don't really want to switch into a Nidoking, you know what I mean? Because that's not going to take a hit if someone predicts. So Overall, pretty decent though.
Yeah. My main issue with Keester's team is how unbelievably reliant it is on Licky Licky. Like, he lives or dies on his Ghost Dark Resist. So Guzzlord and Licky Licky are like the most important mons on his roster. If he loses one or both of those, his odds of winning that week is going to be diminished significantly. He's very Bolt Beam weak. He's very Ghost weak. He doesn't want to take Dark type hits, which puts all of the pressure on Licky Licky and Guzzlord to stay alive and to be successful. I still rated his team highly. He has some cool options. Gallade is one of my favorite megas in the game. Bucephalon's really powerful, but kind of not user friendly. I'm excited to see Glastrier for the first time in ASL, but I am worried about the amount of importance he's placed on a mon like Licky Licky, who's fine, okay. Uh, I'm concerned about that.
I see your guys' points, and you've covered all the bases pretty much there. You did say already, Brad, things about the ghost dark weaknesses there. Knockoff specifically, nothing really wants to take it. I do see the point of Slowbro, Klepke, Glacier. So obviously you can see that plan there. If he doesn't want to break early game with Gallade, or if he wants to save Gallade for late game, having a strong Glacier with SD behind screens, and then having Slowbro set that trick room up. Yeah, Glacier can really do some work. It's super bulky and it does hit hard, especially in trick room. There's really no stopping it unless you're in front of a Slowbro, which he already drafted. Um, it's actually really, really good. I do see that core, very nice, and then Bucephalon, of course, for special attacking later, and then Gallade maybe wants to clean up. So I do see the goal of this team. It's laid out right there for you. Not even counting the sheer force Nidoking, which obviously is a big threat as well. Um, but like you said, I gave this team an A minus, just for the sake of its ghost and dark resist being almost not as great as you want like it to be. I mean, Guzzlord for how good he is. I don't know how many games he wants to. He might come. I think a lot of the games might need to. But having your fairy type as only Klefki, fighting types as well, might be a problem after Slowbro drops. I don't know. He does have answers. He has Blacephalon, he has Gallade, Slowbro for fighting types, so it's not too bad. It's more so just the ghost and the dark answers. So I like the team overall, though. Very, very nice.
And onward we go to my team. I'm actually up first on my team. This seems wrong.
We make sure.
But it's a good team. It's solid. It's probably one of my better drafts. I have a tendency, as most of you all know, to draft stuff that doesn't always make sense together, but makes sense in my head. I think this is one of my few drafts that maybe makes sense on paper and in my head. Um, but it's not without issue. The 150 to 109 speed gap is far from ideal. I really should have got something in the teens and preferably something also in the 20s. Um, but obviously, I couldn't be bothered. I would like to see something in the 60s personally for me, but I don't have it. 55 will have to be good enough. The good thing is Arctivish it wants to run speed for what I need it for. So 55 is not a hollow speed tier, even though it is an Arctivish. I've got decent physical attack, decent special attack. I've got some hazards. I've got some removal. I like it overall. I'm really happy with it, and don't want to say too much about it being it's my own roster, but it it's it is appealing to me in ways that some of my past rosters haven't been. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you, Brad. You gave yourself an A, obviously, because you know it's your team. So I actually went ahead and gave your team, sorry, an A as well, just because I've personally drafted something similar to this, and I've always loved it. A Mega Arrow, Rillaboom, Hydreigon. I drafted those three together as well, and they are just a menace to deal with. Having Metagross as well, very nice budget to get a nice steel type in that sense. It's not as great as Jirachi, but in some cases it's better, just because it has more attack. And I do like what it can provide here as well. It can lure in some things that might seem like a counter, such as Skarmory, and then it busts out that nice gravity, and then you start earthquaking. Um, it's really nice. I think with your Ninetales as well, having 109 speed, it does outspeed a lot of things that might be a threat versus your team. Things like a Garchomp, which does outspeed Hydreigon, Metagross, and it might find a way around Rillaboom. But Ninetales can kind of counter that Garchomp right there. Tentacruel is always nice as a spinner as well. And having Arctivish in Hail is just a nice fail-safe as well if you want to go that route. Um, the rest of the mons in between are also nice for your budget. Kangaskhan as a Wish Passer, it's pretty bulky as a nice normal type to resist that Ghost and Ghost spam. Yeah. Um, and then Vikavolt with webs too. It can definitely act as a functioning team around things like maybe a nasty plot Hydreigon or even a late game Swords Dance Rillaboom sweeper. Mega Arrow in general doesn't really need to be set up in this case at 150 speed as well. If you want to go DD, if you want to go Home Claws, yes, for sure. But otherwise, it can just be there to break if it needs to, and then let the rest of your team kind of take on the weakened squad from there. So I do like where you went with this squad. I've personally drafted something similar, so that's why I'm kind of biased in that sense. I really like it. So.
Sure.
Yeah. I do like the draft. I won't lie. I am a Mega Aerodactyl hater. I'm not a big fan of Mega Aerodactyl. I did learn today that he gets DD, which changes my opinion completely. Um, but yeah, this team's really good. Nice recovery with Palisand, Tentacruel. Rillaboom gets a free leftovers with Grassy Surge. I mean, Ninetales is just can do a lot of damage, can set up Aurora Veil really good. Pretty much just that could carry a team pretty much. I mean, you switch in a Mega Aerodactyl, one Dragon Dance, and the game's over. Same with Rillaboom. You said with a Swords Dance, Hydreigon's gonna do some work. I mean, just everything on this team does something really well. That's what I really like about it. So yeah, really good team.
Cool. And on to TCP.
All right. Well, we got TCP. Um, and I'm not sure if this is actually his team name or if he has another team name, but this is what we got in front of us. So let's just work with it.
Yeah.
I give this team a B plus, and not that I didn't like it enough for it to be an A. But what I did see was the team in the beginning with Celesteela, Megagard, very, very top notch. I think those two already are giant threats in their own. They can do so much, and Mega Gardevoir, even though it doesn't do much outside of its primary move slots, it kind of acts in a way that has to force your opponent to make sure that they don't lose their hyper voice answer. So that already provides enough. If it means that your opponent has to prep in such a way to kind of counter that. Um, I uh, I do think that the speed isn't really there, unfortunately, with Superior and Fernape as your fastest. Now, like the speed, it might not be the best, and Fernape might have to be scarfed a lot of times, but I think he does have the bulk when it comes to Celesteela and things like Gudra. So Seismitoad as well, very nice there. But really, the speed is gonna hurt him a lot of the times. And I'm not sure, like if Caracoso wants to come a lot of the times when Seismitoad wants to be there some more. I don't know. There's some overlapping typings that I think might make it so that he's bringing a lot of the same mons. For example, Malamar over Mega Guard. They're both nice psychic types, but one's a dark type, which is really, really important when it comes to playing against a team with a really strong psychic type. Uh, I don't know. It's a good team. There's a lot of setup going on, I can see, but in order for the setup to work, he has to make sure that his opponent doesn't act against him or set up before him. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I gave it a B+.
Yeah, I did like the team. I really like Mega Gardevoir. I think this has the highest special attack drafted that I believe with 165. So that's gonna put in work. Like Ma'am said, kind of slow. Like Superior and Infernape are your fastest mon, and then I mean Gardevoir gets outsped by a lot of things that can probably one hit KO it, if not two hit KO it. I do really like the core. Like Celestelia, Gardevoir, Gudra is like insanely good. I do like just Infernape, Superior, Seismitoad. Like it's a good team. I hate fighting against Corsola Galar. I like this team just seems just really strong, really bulky. I don't get why Caracosta is on the same team as a Seismitoad. But other than that, like pretty good team.
I mean, Caracosta and Seismitoad are like bros, man. They just
I guess,
they
yeah.
just go
Gotta
together.
keep the bros together.
Yeah, they
I
hit up the same games together. Yeah,
there's good and there's bad here. I think that's just how it is with every team, right? 113 being your fastest speed is a no-no. That's just not good enough in the current meta. But he's got some really cool stuff. You guys pointed out a lot of things that I really like. Gardevoir with Infernape seems really threatening. Gudra is oftentimes thought of as a Spadef wall, but you can modest specs that dude and really slap some people around. Superior can be very threatening. There's a lot of good here. It's also it's knockoff week in a weird way. Like Celesteela wants its item, Gudra wants its item. You know, Kamala oftentimes. Obviously Corsola needs its item to exist, but a lot of things here really want their item, and he doesn't have a solid way of taking knockoff because Gardevoir's base defense is non-existent. Um, so there's good, there's bad, but I mean an A- is it speaks for itself. I think it's a very threatening roster. And just so you know, TCP, when I made this slideshow, your team on the stats page was the Hartford Wailmers. So that's why it shows that instead of the St. Louis Wildwood. But shout out to Malone. TCP is named his team after you. But it's not on the slideshow because of the dock issue when I made the slides.
Yeah.
dock issues.
Doc issues.
Dock issues,
Woo.
man.
Alright. Now time to roll into the Rollout Wigglytuffs. Love the name, love the team. Big fan of Megalop I've had a lot of fun with her. Skarmory and Rotom Wash, just a good defensive pairing. Um, a little bit on the electric side is gonna be like I don't really know what's the answer to that besides like Flygon. Um, I do really like the team though. There's a lot of mons that just do a lot of stuff well. You got some attack with Mega Lopunny. You can do some work with Azelf. I've seen people go physical Azelf. It's niche, but you can do it. Um, but that's really about it. Special attack. I mean, you got Chandelure, you got Azelf again, you got Hatterene, you got Glaceon. These are just good, solid mons. Special defense. Yeah, special defense. Um, I mean, Hatterene can put in work. Cradilly is annoying if you don't prep for it. Rotom Rush always. So I mean, good team, really good team.
Yeah, there's things here that I like. There's things here I don't like, as with every team. Um, things that I like. This is probably the best speed tiers in the whole league. I mean, 130. You got 130s, 120s. You know, you got something in the teens. You got something in the 100s. You've got a 90, an 80. I mean, a 70, 60. It, it's incredible. Skarmory is hazards. Like, if you have a Skarmory, you just check off hazards, and it doesn't matter what the rest of your roster looks like. He's got the Rotom Wash for pivoting. I am a little concerned about Chandelure and Azelf together because they are both relatively fragile and they get hit by the same stuff. I'm not sure that that synergy works for me, but I love the Mons and love their really strong offensive presence in a team that has Lopunny, who like Lopunny's kind of weird, right? It's not a breaker. It's a great revenger. So having offensive versatility on a team with Lopunny is incredibly helpful. As Cam said, it is very Bolt Beam weak. Anything with Ice Beam and Thunderbolt is an automatic threat for Bass, and he's going to have to put a lot of prep into it, which probably lends to him having to bring like Glaceon and Cradily on a regular basis, and that's not really what you're hoping for. But if he makes transactions, he's going to start losing pieces that are really valuable. So I'm excited to see this team work. I think it's going to be very good, um, but it's probably a little bit better than the B plus we gave it. Probably A minus. I don't know.
Yeah, I think after talking about it a little bit more, I can see it could be definitely better than B plus there. Um, you guys already mentioned a lot of the good points about it. Megalopods is a great revenger. Even if something drops on his end, he can bring it in and then just hit that. What's it called? Retaliation,
Mm-hmm.
retaliate or whatever.
Yeah.
And that really strong move there too. Um, I could already tell he's not gonna like switching into Nidoking, but not really anything like switch into a Nidoking, so
Sure.
it makes a lot of sense there. Um, yeah, I would have liked to see maybe some more wall breakers on his end. I do understand the Chandelure, even though he has it paired with the Zelf. He needs some things to make sure that Mega Scizor doesn't get too out of hand, which also includes Skarmory being there too. So I guess I could see that. It's maybe one day or one match brings Flame Body for those U-turns, but otherwise doesn't really want to take too much damage. That's the point of a lot of the team as well, is that it doesn't have a cleric. No, wait, never mind. Rabombi does get aromatherapy, and I think Lopunny gets heal bell. Uh,
That sounds right.
but or Glaceon, I guess too. Anyways, yeah, I guess he does have some stuff there, but it's no Wish Passers that can really heal up the rest of the team. If yeah, well, Glaceon gets it right, or am I
It
wrong?
gets Wish. It's just a low HP mon.
Oh, I see, I see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I never really seen Glaceon too much in action, but I know it can definitely do work if his opponent is Ice weak for sure. Um, and he has all the hazards. I think he's got rocks, T spikes, webs. So that's always nice to have. And he has a spin blocker and Chandelure. Again, it's not the best spin blocker, but it's definitely a very strong special attacker. Uh, a nice team. I gave it a B, but it's definitely a bit better than that now that I think about it. So I probably bump them up closer to B plus.
Sure. I like the team. Just maybe not Chandelure and Azelf together. That's, I guess, my biggest issue. Maybe like an Entei. But I also happen to know that Chandelure is Bass's like favorite mon. So
Hmm.
excited to see him
All
get
right.
the opportunity to use it. All right, on to the worst coach in the league. Um, Ian, my lifelong partner. I hope you're listening to this, and I hope you know that I hate you with every fiber of my being. Um, I don't have your fancy new logo because you didn't put it on the dock because you suck as always. But I am excited to review your team. Solid scores. I will just preview for you that Inkfish hated your team. His review of your team was awful. He scored you terribly. So I can't wait to get there. There's some things about this roster that are cool, specifically the Zera Aura working with the Slowking. That's a really nice pairing. Slowking can get Zera Aura for free. Zera Aura can take the electric move for Slowking. Houndoom with Sun is horrifying. It can two-shot basically anything. Aromatisse and Vileplume, really stout defensive core. I mean, you paid one D tier and one E tier, and you have essentially a defensive core in its entirety to just go together. That's incredible value. But things like Fortress in the Sun, that's a little confusing. Porygon Z, who I love Porygon Z, I think is a tremendous mon. I don't think Porygon Z and Houndoom necessarily work together well. They're both going to be Mach Punch weak. Um, Scar Fighting obviously is going to smack them around. They both kind of want to do the same thing. They might manipulate different mons because their typings, Houndoom's going to be better maybe against Spectrier, but then Porygon Z's normal type too. So they just seem too similar to me to be cohesive on the same roster, especially when they're the two best special attackers on the team. Like outside of after you get through Porygon Z, his next best special attacker is what, Slowking? Realistically, I mean,
I think. Yeah.
Vileplume is based on special attack stat, but in terms of like realistic output, Vileplume's not usually going to come modest every week. Like,
Mhm.
so some things I'm concerned about, but I love his tier maximization. Like Dragonite and Slowking and B, tremendous value. Houndoom paired with Sun, tremendous value. Vileplume even with the chlorophyll and Sun. I could see like a Life Orb, Sun, Vileplume absolutely wrecking somebody who's forgotten about it. That somebody might be me because I have a tendency to forget about those kind of things. Um, I like the team, but there is a few reasons why it is squarely in the B territory as opposed to like an A minus.
Mm.
I hear you. And speaking of that, I actually did give this team an A minus on my end. It and again, it's definitely a good team. It has Sun, but it also has electric terrain, which pairs with him only.
Mm-hmm.
And then it even just has Zeraora for late game. Zeraora, by the way, like nothing really wants to. It gets coverage for everything. It gets play rough. It gets close combat now. It really can chunk anything, even standing in the way. Um, but there are other things that still wall it, so that's why the rest of the team looks really nice. Dragonite is can I've been seeing him played a lot more bulky lately, as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to the more offensive weakness policy sets that I think were going around earlier with heavy duty boots. Now it can just be super super handy, especially when his team is already ground weak. Zero Aura, Ninetales, and Houndoom. If he has to bring Houndoom and Ninetales, that's already two mons that are just weak to ground, and that means that the next four slots have to be either Slowking to kind of soak that hit or Dragonite. And then Vileplume might get shafted a little bit sometimes just because it's just better to bring Houndoom over something like Vileplume. But I could see it coming either or. And then Fortress is there. I don't know if Fortress how many times it wants to come as well. It's he's only steel type and he needs to come if otherwise a Rillaboom can get out of hand. Um, but the speed tiers going from Zero to Mega Houndoom, and then after that is Ninetales itself. The team itself can be fairly slow. And like you already said, Brad, Houndoom and PZ kind of already perform the same sort of duties that the rest of the team doesn't. So, there are some overlapping roles in certain placements, but I don't know. With a team like this, it might be hard to predict what he wants to bring someday, some games. So it's definitely a nice team that I see doing well. I like PZ. I love PZ, and I know how strong that thing can be. So
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this team. Brad shared some of my complaints. Like, I like the Mons individually, but like together, it just doesn't feel too well. Like with Houndoom and Porygon Z, not the biggest fan of Mega Houndoom, just from personal. You do have support with the Nine Tails, but then you have Zero or Two, and then now you have nothing that can really stop a ground type like an Earthquake. You do have Dragonite, but literally every fully evolved ground type has either Stone Edge or Rock Slide. So, speed wise, I mean, like you got Zero Aura, you kind of got Mega Houndoom, and then that's pretty much it. I don't think what's removal? Is it just Fortress and Dragonite? Um, so
Hitmonlee can spin, but yeah,
oh yeah, you got Hitmonlee who can spin. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Like I guess you could run like Unburden Hitmonlee to help out with speed. But then once he switches out, like you're done for, so you have to kind of sweep. Um, but other than that, it's pretty solid. I do like the Mons Dragonite's always going to be good. Zero or and Slow King, you know what I mean? With the support, Mega Houndoom will one shot, two shot most stuff. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, and also one thing we didn't mention, but like, and sometimes we focus on speed tiers. We just look at like, okay, what's base 100 and above, but there's a speed gap between 80 and 50 that is like really concerning. You know, things like Heatran is going to run Modest. Mega Scizor, I know, was drafted. That's going to run Adamant. Regular Scizor, even things like Seismitoad. You know, that speed gap is actually pretty significant, and there's some really powerful things in that range that are going to be running like Modest Adamant against him, as opposed to something else. I would like to see him close that speed tier up.
yeah.
Okay,
Do 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 do
all
do
right.
do do.
Last one. Is it
last one.
me?
It's you.
I messed up.
I like yeah.
It's me. All right. Okay, so we got Lillay, and for this one, I gave the team a B plus. Team is pretty solid. Sand team, obviously, you can see it just from the giggle and the extra drill. Uh, the rest of the components to the team itself feels like it might be a little bit lackluster. I like the Victini for sure. Victini, very strong wall breaker. The B drill, it might not be as necessary here as it probably should be because I do see what it does here. It gets rid of the psychic types that otherwise is very strong against the team itself. Nothing really wants to take a strong psychic move here, um, but otherwise you know it's going to run into some problems that Exadrill is already trying to remove himself. For example, things that are off the ground, such as Celesteela and Corviknight, or Skarmory even, Beedrill and Estrogen are just going to have to sit there if they're brought and wait for Victini to hopefully take those on, while the rest of the team is kind of just twiddling their thumbs. Heliolisk might have to come a few times too. I can see Heliolisk being a very strong, component to the team. Victini as well. Togekiss, I can see coming Scarf a lot of the time. It doesn't necessarily need to be the wish passer in itself, even though it does act as a nice wish passer. But otherwise, the team kind of struggles with knockoff as well. And the speeches are nice though. You go from Beedrill to Sneasel, which Sneasel is very niche, but it's brought more often than not. It's a strong priority and speed acts as a really strong force if it comes banded or anything like that. So it could be their late game if Exadrill doesn't want to come and sand. Again, the team itself is fairly ground weak, so I understand Togekiss, I understand Tangrowth. And yeah, I think the fracture for the most part isn't the best value you could have grabbed in that tier, but who knows? I'm not sure exactly what's left there, but otherwise, yeah, team, I give it a B plus. It looks really nice. It kind of looks very fun too. So
Yeah, it's a solid team. I really like it. Excadrill's just really freaking good. I mean, you could even just bait, like you don't even have to do like Sand Rush, I believe is the speed, right? Sand Rush.
Mhm.
I mean, like you could just go Mode Breaker and then like trick someone into adding some extra speedy Vs or trying to like it's like the team building aspect is really good with Excadrill. Mega Beedrill, pretty good, strong mon. Like Ma'am said, like because you are ground weak, you got the Togekiss. Tangrowth can eat a couple of them. Cursula's really annoying to face against, really strong, especially at kind of slow. But you do have like strength sap, so there is like some recovery. You know what I mean? But overall, pretty good team.
Yeah, it's a good team. I like uh I like a lot of what's going on here. Excadrill, I just adore. It's been one of my favorite mons for a long time. I don't draft it often, um, but I do absolutely love it, particularly in this type of team where he can run the sand, but also Mold Breaker is just really good. Um, Victini's one of the safest picks in Draft League. You can take Victini basically at any spot. First round, you can take it in the top 5, and it will produce. It'll be great. It always is. Togekiss is great utility. I don't necessarily love Togekiss and Tangrowth together. Uh, their synergy is a bit lacking for me personally, but both tremendous mons. Excited to see the Heliolisk, the Carsula. I feel like Fracture was a wasted pick. Lillay will find a way to make it work. I know he will, but I think there were probably other options that could have done more. Uh, Meowstic's fun though. I think potentially the Prankster there, even Infiltrator, that's a pretty cool one. I still think we should keep Meowstic separate for male and female just to mess with Peach for no other reason than that. Uh,
mhm.
but for if you don't know, for the longest time our doc listed Meowstic F and Meowstic M separately, and it just
All right.
bugged Peach to death, and that's mainly why we left it that way. Uh, so to see him combine this season just really just breaks my heart. It does.
Mhm.
So, but I like it. I like the team. It's gonna be fine. Mega Beedrill's not to me like the most logical mon on this roster, but I know the backstory and I know why it's there. So cool, whatever. It'll be a fun team though. Sand Rush is always a threat, but Victini's the real story here. Victini's going to be a major problem for everyone who has to deal with it.
Yep.
Okay.
I think Fracture's there for the Steel Fairy Dragon Core, of course, with
Yeah,
Excadrill and
sure.
Sure.
Togekiss.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So
I will.
here's our final page. A lot of A's, nothing lower than a B. I think that's the big takeaway this season. There's pros and cons to every team. There's highs and lows on every team, but the worst roster ranked was a B minus, and
Mhm.
the best was an A. So what that really means to me is that we should have a competitive season. We should have a really even playing field. The difference between a B plus roster and an A roster is honestly a difference of opinion. They're going to be perfectly fine and perfectly capable of making playoffs. So, no excuses. It should be a good season with everyone competing at a fairly even level.
Yeah, excited. This is really going to be like kind of like a skill thing, you know what I mean? Like all the rosters are just kind of pretty close together in terms of like, you know,
Mhm.
so yeah.
I agree. Actually, it's going to come down to skill because a lot of the teams, like you said, they. I mean, it's more so because of the format and just the tiering in general. They can't go as top heavy as they would like, but they do have specific components to their teams that allow their higher tiered mons to really pop off. So if it really comes down to the coach in most cases.
Well, that's it, guys. I hope all those listening have enjoyed it. We are not a Hollywood production, but we do make this for your entertainment. So I hope you've had fun with it. Make sure to tell Mams and Cam thank you. They're not active coaches in the ASL. They took time, specially out of their day, just to support the league and to do this for you guys. So make sure you give them a shout out.
Anytime, anytime.
Whoa, of course.
All right, that's it. We'll see you in the next video.
Peace.
Guys.